Dance is the hidden language of the soul of the body. Martha Graham, who was the first dancer to perform at the White House, said this quote. She also received the Presidential Medal of Freedom and danced choreography for over 70 years. Today we are honored to have another woman who is working and mentoring in the discipline of fine arts, who will help us understand this very quote. We welcome today for Women with Werk, Miss Carla Hughes. She's been teaching dance for over 20 years with special emphasis in jazz, modern, contemporary, and hip hop. She has taught at several local dance schools, such as Erie Bayfront Dance, Lake Erie Ballet, Erie Dance Conservatory, McDowell Intermediate High School, CPA's program, Little Dance Studio, DeMarco's Dance Academy, and Sovereign Ballet. Ms. Hughes currently teaches dance full-time for Erie's Public Schools at Collegiate Academy. She is the director of Collegiate Academy's dance ensemble, Cadence, and she also serves as the resident choreographer in the theater department, having choreographed over a dozen musicals. We welcome Ms. Carla Hughes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You've been involved with dance for over 20 years. So now take us back to the beginning.
Okay.
How did you start and how do you persevere?
I think I was 9. I started at what is now Erie Dance Theater. It was Erie Bayfront Ballet. And then I saw my cousins perform at Little's Dance Studio. They were doing jazz, and it just clicked, like, I need to do that. And so my parents signed me up, and you know, like normal kids, they're like, if you really don't stick with it, like, it's gonna be a waste of time. So if you wanna do it, you gotta be committed. And so once I started doing it, I didn't want to stop. And I haven't stopped since then, so.
Great. So what is it about dance, like Martha Graham said, that it's like a hidden language of the soul of the body? Can you help us understand that?
Yes, she, with that same quote, she also goes on to say that the body dances what the heart wants to say, and she's like the mother of modern dance. If she never had the idea or the concept that she wanted to move in a different way outside of ballet or what we saw on stage in vaudeville at the time, people like myself wouldn't even be doing modern dance. And so I think at the core of her technique and what has been passed down to all of us is that it has to come from a real place, and you need to find out what that is. And once you do, you won't be able to keep that in. It will come out in your body, it'll come out in your movement, and it'll come out in how you perform and what you convey to the audience.
So when you talk about finding that real place, how did you find your real place?
I think that I always knew, as soon as I had my very first modern class, it seemed like I could see like 40 years ahead of me. I just knew I'm going to be doing this for a very, very long time. It spoke to me on a real level. All of the things that I was probably afraid to say, I could express. It just seemed like it opened up more doors to my personality and helped me. I was always that kid that wasn't sitting, that was jumping and moving and turning and rolling. So that just seemed to fit right in line with what I wanted to do. And I've always wanted to dance and was really ignorant about what that meant as a young person going to college. I had no clue what it meant to be a dance major. So once I got there and started figuring it out, it spoke to me personally and more from a human aspect than as an actual major. It felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
And then we keep talking about modern dance. Can you explain to those of us who aren't really familiar with the world of dance what modern dance is?
Well, like in other art forms, there's a modern era in music, there's a modern era in art. There's not a modern era in dance. It just means new. It's that field of dance where I could bring in elements of jazz or hip hop or ballet all together in a palette. I explain it to my dancers. You're like a painter that has a palette, and you get to choose all the colors that you want to bring into the painting. And modern dance does that for people too. It's typically done barefoot. You could speak on stage. They break all kinds of rules with regards to the fourth wall. They might enter from the audience. They might go into the audience. They could be eating on stage. It's sort of like a big collage of the different disciplines put together to reach people a little bit more in an abstract way.
Okay. So speaking of dance, like what were your influences and why?
I was influenced heavily early on by Sandra Little. Her mother, Catherine Little, founded Little's Dance Studio in Erie, and she's sort of like an authentic jazz person. If you think of the 30s and 40s of jazz, as far as like the Lindy Hop and that Renaissance era, that really, really is what she planted that seed. I absolutely love that era. I guess then after that, my mentors would have been the people I met in college, like Tommy Cousins, Judith Leifer, some of my professors. Working with Tommy, he told us pretty early on in our careers, they don't tell you that you have that thing that you need to succeed. And he said, once you decide that this is what you want to do, every step that you take after that is just icing on the cake. He was like, you already are successful because you're doing the very thing that you set out to do. And most mentors won't tell you that. And he was like, I definitely have to tell you that because you guys are ready. You just need to go out and get it. So those people were definitely influential.
I mentioned earlier that you were making strides in the discipline of fine arts. As we know, the arts require discipline. And I also mentioned mentorship. So can you speak to the relationships that you have formed with your students that transcend beyond you being just their teacher, but also being more of a mentor to them?
Most of the students I encounter in the academic setting or in private schools, I try to speak to them about how it's an individual path for all of us. And sometimes when they get discouraged, you try to help them see what might be their course, what's their path, what's the best way for them. And usually, because we spend so much time together, they get to know who I am, I get to understand who they are, and after a while it becomes a sharing. Instead of me just teaching them and they give it back, there are things that they bring to me that also inspire me to help them along the way. So most of the time I feel like we're working together to figure out where they're headed, and then what they don't know is that they're also working to help me see where I'm headed moving forward as their teacher now, and as more of a colleague in a sense. Once they move into the dance world, it makes a lot more sense as to why we came together. It feels purposeful. They ask a lot of questions, and then I really hope that most of them will exceed above, far and beyond what I've ever done. And now that there are many more opportunities out there for them, typically our partnership and our friendship develops from helping them figure out how to get where they want to be.
Now, and once they usually leave from being, student, instructor, student, do they usually come back? Do you have?
Yes.
Okay.
They do come back. One of my former students, James Dixon, who danced with Dayton Contemporary Dance Company and Lulu Washington out in LA, has come back to the Erie community. He's done master classes for my students. One of my students is now living in Puerto Rico who's teaching dance, so we touch base, online with regards to what he's doing, what he's thinking about. They'll send me videos and say, hey, this is what my kids are working on, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool. Or I might say, hey, do you remember that song? Like, I can't think of it. And they're like, oh, yeah, I remember. And one student literally called me on the telephone and said, hey, what's the name of that song you used to play when we were warming up?
Wow.
I don't know. I said, well, I'm not really sure. I said, I played a lot of songs. Could you be more specific? And he sang like this little tiny melody line. And I went, oh, that song. So I was able to direct him directly to that. So sometimes they just call and say, hey, I remember when you made us do this, and now I'm doing it too, and I see why you made us do it. So, yeah.
That's great. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk more about your mentorship that you're doing and some other cool things that you're doing in the community as it pertains to dance. So we'll be back right after this.
Before NAMI, I did not have many support systems. I felt very alone. Through NAMI, I earned a support system, I earned advocacy, I earned an organization that I could refer others to and advocate for mental illness with. And through NAMI, I feel that I can help stamp out stigma.
NAMI of Erie County. Find help, find hope.
So good to see you guys. So, what's up?
Oh, we finally bought a place.
Holy cow.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
Jeez, at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save.
Yeah, I have no idea where it goes.
Well, you're spending a lot on...
Is it good?
Oh, God.
Oh, How is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
My parents always said that a bridge is only useful if it can be crossed.
At Edinboro, I found a university that connects who I am to who I want to be.
A school that's affordable with excellent professors and nationally recognized undergraduate and graduate programs who give personal attention to my success. Edinboro's also a place with great traditions and big-time school spirit.
Edinboro University. It's the bridge to your destination. Choose excellence. Choose Edinboro. Apply online at edinboro.edu.
We're back with Miss Carla Hughes, who is an avid and talented dancer in the Erie community and also instructs at Erie's Public Schools Collegiate Academy. Right now, she's currently working with a program in the Erie area that a lot of people know about, which is Life Through Music, that's now broken off, that now has a Life Through Dance. And so you're working now with this program. Can you tell us more about the program, the new branch off that it's taken, and your role with that?
Yes. So Life Through Dance started in October of 2015. I saw Corey's kids when I came to see Life Through Music with the chamber orchestra. I believe it was last year for the Black History program. And then I kept seeing them more and more. And then really, I just wanted to ask him, what could I do to facilitate and help his program grow even more? I wasn't even thinking about adding dance to what he was doing. And then when we sat down and started talking, he in fact said, well, I'm glad you did contact me because we would like to see if we could branch out into dance. So then that seed, yet another seed got planted. And it made a lot of sense because I taught privately for so long and I got away from teaching outside of school. And this was a really great way to get back to the community and reach those students who probably couldn't afford to do studio dance, which can be kind of expensive. So now this program, which is free, just like Life Through Music, is 3 days a week at East High School. It's open from kids 4th grade to 12th grade. And we have about 8 young ladies who are consistently committed and coming to the program, so it's working out.
That's great. Now, how do you see the program expanding in the next
I would say, I hope it definitely expands in attendance or enrollment over the next year or so. And then we're going to move to the girls actually making the choreography and creating work for us to showcase, getting a lot more into costuming and more dance history for them. And a lot more terminology will be implemented into the program. Right now, we're getting them up and moving and understanding what it means to use your body to express emotions and to fill the space and to tell a story. And then we want to shift and allow them to be the makers of the thing that we do and use the vocabulary that the dance world uses. So when they leave the program or if they branch out on their own, they'll have some foundations and some tools they can use moving forward.
And so what does an actual session look like in the Life Through Dance program?
They come in, they have about a 15-minute, 20-minute warm-up. Then we'll try to go through some basics, like how are you supposed to hold your feet, getting into the stretches, the positions, and then depending on the style of dance I want to choreograph, I'll teach them some vocabulary that comes from that style of dance, and then we move into learning choreography or learning a sequence of movements to put together that they'll perform later.
Yeah. And then we have recently found out that the Life Through Dance, or just the whole Life Through Music program, was recently awarded a grant through the Partnership for Erie's Public Schools.
Yes.
Can you talk about that, what that means for the program?
Yes, we were very excited about that. It will mean, too, now that the showcase that we always do in May will allow us to provide dance attire for the students because most of them come in their street clothes to the program because they don't have dance attire. So that will allow us to purchase dance attire, shoes, leotards, tights. We've even had someone willing to donate dance bags for them to keep their stuff in. Moving forward, we can use that to help advertise for the showcase, get costumes for the showcase, just to really build a foundation in the program so they have some resources there that will let them feel like they're doing, this is an actual performance, we want them to take it seriously. So those funds are going to help make that showcase the best it can be, and then ultimately the program.
That's great. Now, what advice can you give to any aspiring dancers, and just so they can know what to do and how they can be most effective in the field?
I would say study, like not in a book, but get in class and find out, if this is something that you really feel like you want to do or you have talent and you're aspiring to do it, you need to go and take class and find out what is required to do this thing that you love. You know, singers, people who sing on the side that decide they want to sing professionally, at some point they have to make a decision to either seek out a manager, seek out lessons and proper technique. The same thing is required for dancers. And then not to be afraid to step out. I definitely wouldn't want people to see my first dance performance video after all these years. But everyone's path is going to be different. As long as they know what they want to do and they're willing to put in the work to do what they want to do, they should be just fine. And it is a lot of work. That's probably the biggest misconception, because we look so happy on stage and those beautiful costumes and the makeup. But there's so much work behind the scenes that I think a lot of people are unaware of. That is going to be the biggest hurdle, getting in there, figuring out what it is, and then using that information to promote yourself forward.
Because I always see this meme on social media, and it's of the ballet dancer, and she has one ballet point shoe on and the other one off, and her feet are all bloody, and it says everyone, you know, wants to be successful until they see how much hard work it takes. And so that made me think about what you just said, because you do see the beautiful ballerina in her costume, and it looks wonderful when they're performing, you know, a Swan Lake performance and not realizing all the hard work that it goes.
The process, the work behind it. It's sadly, I've seen my own feet that way, so definitely. There is a lot of hard work, and some of it is, you can be self-motivated, and it can be very discouraging, this thing of dance. If I played an instrument and I got criticized for hitting the wrong note or playing too loudly, that's the instrument that I need to manipulate and try to figure out how to do it better. But when that criticism is coming to you and it's attached to your body, that's a whole other ball game that most people, it can be really, really tough to take till you realize it's part of what's going to make you better. Like, that's the hardest part. People want to get it right so fast and they're ready to go. There's much more work involved than just simply getting it right.
And you do hear a lot about switching gears, but I'm glad we're talking about it. A lot of criticism with like body types and Misty Copeland, that was something that she dealt with a lot, was about her body type wasn't right. And so you hear about a lot of eating disorders with dancers. And was that something that you dealt with, or things that you even talk about with your students now? And how do you deal with that?
I don't have, I shouldn't say I don't have students with body issues, because most of them are female, so we all think about our bodies on some level. In college, I ran into a lot more, especially undergrad, people who were doing unhealthy things to their bodies in order to fit some mold. Being or looking a certain way meant success to them. It meant perfection to them, which, getting back to Martha Graham, because it didn't have to be perfect. It could be abstract. You know, she was interested in those spaces in between perfection. That sort of helped put a little bit of that at bay. And it does come up, particularly when you have male directors and male choreographers. They either love or hate what you're doing, and most female directors might either love and hate what you're doing as well, because they might see something in you that reminds them of them, or there might be something about you that they aspired to have and didn't happen for them. So there's so much going on in the room, and then you spend a great deal of your day looking back at your reflection in a mirror. You just have to figure out what becomes important. You don't have to be a size 2 to be a dancer. You don't have to be very, very thin. What you need to be is talented, have the technique, and committed to doing what you want to do in all sizes and shapes. I've worked with all sizes and shapes, and I have all sizes and shapes and demographics in the company I work with now. So if you can do it, I want to see you do it. And as long as you can be healthy with whatever size you are, I think that's what most people want. They want you to be healthy, and they want you to promote what a good body looks like, not a thin body.
That's good. That's great advice. Now, have you seen any kind of correlation between fine arts and academic success, of having the two together? And can you speak to that?
Research says it has a lot to do with the particular focus, because your mind is so focused on repetitive motions and actions that you do over time for a desired goal, and that level of discipline has to spill over into your everyday life. Whether or not you're trying to be an A student or not, the attention to detail that is required in fine arts will carry over in your academic life for sure. And then your focus tends to be a lot clearer. And maybe sometimes your communication can be a lot clearer because you're used to expressing yourself in a particular way above and beyond regular conversation.
Okay. Now, everyone knows, you know, when we talk about Carla Hughes in Erie, we always talk about Carla Hughes, the dancer.
Right.
Or Carla Hughes, the actress. And or Carla Hughes when she played in Color Purple. We just talk about you with the arts. But what's there something about Carla Hughes that we don't know or that you wish people knew about you? This is your chance to share it with us.
Well, most of the time they should know I need a nap. But other than that, I don't think people really understand how much energy that I expel for other things except for myself. I do an awful lot in the community, and I want to, and for other people and through other organizations. But very rarely do I take time to just do something for me, something simple. And I like simple. I think that because they see me do so many things, sometimes I just want to do one thing, not 42. And at the end of the day, I still feel like I'm learning and growing, like it's not the end of the road, it's not the final chapter. I just want to make sure people allow you to be something other than the artist. Like you can also be the female, you can be a parent, you can be a church member. Like you have other roles and other facets to your personality, and sometimes you can get kind of pigeonholed or typecast in a way. And people approach you in that way when you're just being your regular self. So at times it's a little difficult for people to see you outside of that. And pretty much, especially to the opposite sex, I would say, just the girl. That's it. And you won't ever know unless you ask. So.
That's right. So that's out there for all the guys that want to know she's just a girl. But lastly, we're grateful that your talented son, Chase Hughes, is also part of the Life Through Music program, produced the soundtrack for this show. So thank you, Chase. And you talked about being pigeonholed, but you're also a mother, and so that's another hat you wear. How do you balance motherhood? And you're also, I know, active in your church, and you're also active in your sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. How do you balance all those things and do it all successfully? Because that's the definition of somebody who works, that does it, you know, to an excellent capacity.
You know, a friend of mine in grad school heard me talking about all the stuff I had to do. It was like Monday. I'm like, oh, I have to do this on Wednesday and this on Thursday. He was like, slow down, it's Monday. Like, what are you doing today? Just focus on today. And so I've learned to just I try to compartmentalize, which I'm not really good at that. Try to just do mom stuff when I need to do mom stuff and just do church when I need to be church. I have to be very, now I'm not organized that well at all. I think I just have to be present most of the time. And that allows me to do what I need to do. But it's a balance. I had like 4 conversations in the car just on the way here. Hands-free, mind you, but I'd covered about every aspect of my life in the 20 minutes it took me to get here.
Wow, that's a lot.
I know. I just went from one thing to the next, like make sure. And I think, you know, single moms, I look at younger moms, for some reason they inspire me because I find that they have to have so much courage to do. I have one child, and some of them might have 1 or 2. They can have multiple children. I just don't know how they are going through their day doing this, you know, alone or with little support. I have a great support system, but I am still just one parent to my child. So it can get very, very tiresome. I try to just take it one day at a time and remain focused on why I'm doing all the things that I do. I want him to be successful. I definitely want the things that I do at church to be meaningful. And I want the organization, the sorority, to be, the work that we're doing to be purposeful. So I just try to be present and make sure that we know why we're doing what we're doing.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for being here. We thank you for all the work that you do in the community.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that you were here to let us know that you're just not Carla Hughes, the dancer, that you have done so much more and are doing so much more. And there's still a lot more for you to do. And so I just wish the best for you. And
thank you.
Hope that we can be some help for you in the future for a while. So we're closing out on a video that's about Misty Copeland, and just very fitting with her being a dancer. She's actually making history right now as the first African-American principal female dancer for the American Ballet Theater that happened on June 30th of 2015. And the video is entitled Will to Win. As we talk about fine arts and the area of dance being something where you have to be focused, that you have to be disciplined, and that you have to be determined, Misty faced many, many obstacles on the way of not having the right body type, not even sometimes being the right skin color in an area, in a arena where this odds were stacked against her, but yet she was still determined to have the will to win. And so we leave you today with not only a piece of history, but also leave you with a positive message of whatever you put your mind to, as long as you have the will to win, you can and you will win. Thank you again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Dear candidate, thank you for your application to our ballet academy. Unfortunately, you have not been accepted. You lack the right feet, Achilles tendons, turnout, torso length, and bust. You have the wrong body for ballet, and at 13, you are too old to be considered.